This conference will now be recorded.
Okay, so in the last session, what we discussed, we talked about vendor payments, cash, and bank. Is that right?
Yes, sir.
Okay. So any doubts from the yesterday's discussion, anyone on the cash payments and bank check payments? What normally
Yes, sir.
happens in an organization?
Sir, you have created, you have told we should leave 9 GLs, 9 number ranges for GLs, no, sir, bank GLs. Is it because we may have within the house bank 2 accounts because of that same
No. For each bank account, 10 GL account numbers.
each bank account?
Let's say, according to you, if I talk about HDFC, in HDFC, let's say I have INR current account and then I have USD current account. Now, according to this, HDFC is one house bank. These two are two different account IDs. Is this correct?
Yes, sir.
Now, for this 10 GLs, for this 10 GLs, not common.
Okay. Okay.
Okay, clear?
Yes, sir, please.
Okay, now let us talk about yesterday we completed bank check payment basic understanding. Now let's talk about bank transfer payments to vendors. Okay, now for us to do bank transfer payment to a vendor, what is important from vendor side? If we have to transfer funds to the vendor account, what is needed?
Name of the vendor, bank account number, IFSC code,
Correct.
amount.
So in short, we need vendor bank account details or vendor bank information. For this to happen, we need bank details. Right? Unless you have vendor bank details, it is not possible for us to initiate payment to the vendor bank account directly. Agree? Even in the normal scenario, in our day-to-day life, if you do not have somebody's bank account information, you cannot do fund transfer. Agree?
Yes.
Same is the case even in real environment. Here you are talking about personal banking. In the organization, you're talking about corporate banking. Okay. Now, let's say if we try to understand this a little more, let's say Mr. A wants to transfer 1000 INR to Mr. B. Now, note, do not consider GPay, PhonePe, Paytm, these kind of things you're not supposed to consider. Clear?
Yes.
You're not supposed to consider Google Pay, PhonePe, Paytm. Now, for this,
Bitcoin.
you will have something called, okay, I'll talk about something called POS machines. What is POS machine?
Point of
Anybody heard?
sales machine.
Right? This is
Point
nothing
of
but
sale.
your point of sale machines. What this point of sale machine will do? This is a wireless payment or a digital payment.
Yes, sir.
In short, this is an instant digital payment or instant wireless payment. So if I'm talking about PhonePe, I'm not going to give my PhonePe number to my customer. or I'm not going to take phone pay number. In short, what they do, they will put a scanner or some kind of code,
QR code.
right? You will simply scan it and then you will show them that payment has been made. When you do this kind of a payment, where is your payment being received? Is it received in your phone pay or is it received directly in your bank account?
Bank account.
Agree? Even if you do phone pay or any other mode of payment digital which is currently in the market, it will straight away hit your bank account. Am I correct?
Yes, sir.
Right? When you're talking about big organizations, SAP, these are least things to be talked, these are least things to be discussed. Okay, because your phone pay is not going to allow you to do a transfer of 1 lakh or 2 lakh, correct? And these are not safe, these are not secure unless your petty expenses. Is that true?
Yes, sir.
In an organization, these kind of payments are not entertained unless it's a small, meager amount. So these points you exclude. So do not consider these points, which means your scenario has to be very clear. Whatever the scenario you're trying to understand, make sure that you are very clear with it. Now, let's say here, if I want to do this transaction, this yellow highlighted transaction, what needs to be done? What is required? First thing, Mr. A needs to have a bank account. Is this point correct?
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir.
What else?
That's it, sir.
That's it. Do I not need net banking? What about net banking?
Yes, sir.
Is it needed or not needed to initiate bank transfer? If I have bank account, is it sufficient? Can I transfer to the other account without net banking? Possible or not?
Not possible.
It is not possible, which means I must have net banking. I need to have a bank account. I should also have net banking. Similarly, Mr. B needs to have a bank account. Since he is on the receiver end, net banking is optional for him. Am I correct?
Yes, sir.
Right? He is receiving, he is not initiating or he is not paying the funds. Since he is at the receiver's end, net banking option is optional for him. Net banking is important here also, but here it is optional. But in case of A, it is mandatory. Am I correct? Now, for me to initiate this, what information I need? I need Mr. B bank details. In general, to initiate a successful bank transfer transaction, what information is needed? Account number and what else?
IFSC code. IFSC code.
IFSC code. Next, I want to transfer to Mr. B. I need Mr. B bank details. What information is needed to do this transfer? Sorry. What else? Bank name is not needed. Account holder name is not needed. Amount is not needed. Yes, no.
Records.
Now, if I have account number, let's say 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. and I have IFSC code, let's say ICICI some number, bank name, I'll say ICICI Bank, account holder name, let's say Mr. B, amount 1000. Any other information is missing?
Country, sir.
Country? Country, India. Branch is not needed. Let's, for an example, Hyderabad. Any other information are we missing?
Currency.
Currency, right? INR. 1000, what do you mean by 1000? Do you mean 1000 INR, $1000, whatever it is, right? What else? Enough?
That's it, sir. Yes, sir.
Now this information is needed in order to initiate the bank transaction between two banks, your bank and your customer bank or your partner bank. Now same information is needed from an organization point of view also. If you are making a payment, your B is represented as your vendor, correct? You need vendor bank details. And if you want your customer to transfer amount into your account, you will have to provide your bank information to your customer, correct?
Yes, sir.
So either ways, you will have to have the proper bank information with you, and all your bank information is updated using which functionality in SAP? All your bank related information is stored using what functionality?
House banking.
House bank functionality. So this is very important concept in SAP. Without house bank, you are not supposed to initiate or you are not supposed to make any kind of a bank transactions. Now, you need house bank. So I'll come down to the house bank. Let's say we have purchased items worth 1,30,000 from Mr. Dev Private Limited. Okay. And payment to be transferred to their city bank account. Is this statement clear?
Yes, sir.
It's clear, sir.
Now, for this transaction to happen, first thing what we have to do is you have to understand the business process from an organization point of view. Ignore recipe. Okay, first you have to understand the business process in an organization. So what an organization will do, assuming this is a new vendor. Okay, so this scenario is which vendor? Your
New
scenario
vendor.
is new vendor, which means Dev Private Limited, is it already existing in your vendor master record or it's a new vendor?
It is not existing vendor.
It is not existing vendor, it is a new vendor.
New vendor.
So point number one, vendor master data creation. Am I correct? Point number one, vendor master data creation. Once you have the vendor master data, point number two, what is to be done? Once
Vendor name.
vendor master record is created, after that, what I should
Purchase
create?
order.
Okay, purchase order is
Bank.
also there. Purchase order is also there. You've received, which means we have purchased already. What is needed?
House
Vendor
Because
bank
bank
our
details.
scenario is to talk about vendor bank transfer payment. For that to happen, after vendor master record, what is needed? Important element, vendor invoice. Correct?
Yes, sir.
Vendor invoice posting. Assuming we have created master record, all the other intermediary transactions are completed like PO whatsoever, and you have posted vendor invoice also. After that, you will have to make vendor payment. Now, vendor master record is straightforward. It is nothing but your business partner creation and assignment of vendor role to the BP. Clear? You have to create business partner and then you have to assign BP role to the business partner so that this will become your BP vendor. Invoice posting is straightforward. If it is PO based, you will have purchase order, goods receipt, and then invoice receipt. If it is non-PO based, you will straight away create a finance invoice. Am I correct?
Yes, sir.
Yes,
After
sir.
that, I'll have to do a vendor payment. When I do a vendor payment, so let's highlight this. When you're doing a vendor payment, what exactly we do?
Vendor bank details.
We make payment through bank or check.
Mode
First,
of
what will
payment.
happen?
Bank outgoing account.
Outgoing account or we pass entry first?
We will pass an entry in
Entry.
SAP.
Entry.
So
Entry.
I'll put 2 points, A, B. A, I will mention accounting entry is passed. B, I'll put amount is
Paid.
given to vendor. Which one will happen first? Do we
Entry
pass the
first.
entry first or we will give amount first in any
Account entry
organization,
first.
Entry.
right? So
Entry
nobody
first.
will give amount to the vendor without passing the entry in the books. Is this correct or not?
Yes,
True.
correct, sir.
Right? This is what every every organization follows. Now here also what we need to do is, if you are making a payment, first you have to think about what accounting entry is posted for your vendor payment. Let's say, what will be the accounting entry? Your
Bank account credit, vendor account debit.
vendor debit and bank credit.
Bank.
Correct? Now
Yes, sir.
after that, you will give amount to the vendor. So this is your financial transaction. This is your settlement transaction. Correct?
Yes.
I'll say this is financial, or I'll say this is accounting process, and I'll say this as settlement process. Is this meaningful to understand?
Yes, sir.
Clear?
Yes, clear.
Now first you are creating the accounting entry as part of accounting process. Once your accounting process is completed, you are going into settlement process wherein you will settle the payment to the vendor. Either you issue a check or you issue cash or you transfer into the vendor bank account is part of your settlement. But the settlement will come into picture only when your accounting is completed, right?
Yes, sir.
Now we are specifically talking about bank transfer. Now in an organization, companies will not use net banking to do fund transfer. Fund transfer is nothing but your amount transfer between the banks. Clear? But from our side, if we have to make the fund transfer or bank transfer to any other person, we log into net banking and initiate the payment. Am I correct?
Yes, sir.
But from a
Yes.
company point of view, this is not the case. No accountant will log into net banking. Nobody will add your vendor bank account in the your beneficiary and all. That is not done in any of the organizations. Agree with me? You will not have any accountant keep on adding your vendor bank details in the your bank master. They will not do it in the bank server. What they will do, your vendor bank account details are created in master data of each vendor. Okay, your vendor bank account details are created in master data of each vendor, which means if I have 10 vendors, while creating the 10 vendors, I will have to create these 10 vendors bank account information. Correct?
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
I must have vendor bank account details in my vendor master itself. I'm not going to create, if my vendor is Mr. Dev, this Dev bank account details will have to be created in Mr. Dev account only, which means in this vendor account only you have to maintain bank account details. Now once you are making the payment, which means your accounting process is completed, then comes your settlement process. How you want to settle it, whether you want to issue a check or you want to give cash or you want to initiate bank transfer into your vendor account. If we are talking about a bank transfer, to do the bank transfer, what information is needed? So again, the same point what we've discussed here. You need account number, IFSC code, bank name, account holder name, amount, country, bank branch, currency. Is this important or not?
Yes, sir. Very important.
All this information is very important and this is very sensitive information of a vendor. And this is not supposed to be created just like that. You have to validate it, make sure that all the information is properly given and somebody validated or verified it. Because you're making a financial transaction, if something goes wrong, account number is given wrong, you must or you might end up paying to the incorrect person. Right? If the account currency is INR but you're trying to transfer dollars, then you will end up getting unwanted exchange rate or transaction related charges, so which you have to avoid. For all this to happen, you have to maintain your master record properly right from the beginning. You have to focus on what is the transaction, what an organization will do, and how this process will be imported into SAP, or how this process is designed or mapped in SAP. Let's say now we have all this bank information, we have created the vendor account, we have added vendor bank information. Now for us to do this transaction, you have two options. Option number one is your manual payment. Option number two is automatic payment. What are the two payment options?
Manual payment and automatic payment.
You have manual payment option, you have automatic payment option. So some clients will go with manual payment options, some clients will go with automatic payment option. It is their choice based on the nature of business, based on the nature of transactions, number of transactions. Client will decide whether to opt for automatic or manual payment. But in both the cases, your fund transfers are possible. If you are going ahead with manual payment, so we have to go for a custom program to generate bank transfer letters. Okay, in case of manual payment, what we have to do?
Automatic payment program.
We have to go for a custom program to generate bank transfer letter. So in case of automatic payment, it is the same, or we can use standard SAP DMEE program. Okay, either you can go for a custom program or you can use standard SAP DME program, which is your data medium exchange engine program. But in short, whenever you're talking about bank transfer payment, you are talking about issuing an instruction to the bank to transfer funds from your account to the beneficiary account. Now, bank will not just like that initiate. If you make a call, please transfer 1,000 rupees to Mr. Dev, this is the account number. Will that be accepted? All right.
Not at all.
Somebody is calling you, or if somebody from your treasury department or cash collection department is giving a call to the bank representative and they say that, okay, from our account, you please transfer this much amount to this account number. Will bank accept it?
No, sir.
Bank will
No,
never
sir.
accept, right? So what bank need? Bank needs authorized letter. What bank requires?
Authorization letter.
Right? Bank needs authorized letter. When we talk about authorized letter, we are talking about signed letters. Yes, no.
Yes.
This letter will have to be signed by the officials from your organization, whoever is authorized to make the payment. So this person's signature is mandatory. Only with this signature validation, bank will initiate the transfer. For this to happen, you have to work on something called a DME or bank transfer payment. Now, here payments of bank are of two types. How many payment types we have in bank?
Two
Two.
types.
One is your check payment. Second one is your bank transfers. Agree? From my bank, I can either issue a check or I can do a transfer. Possible or not? Both options.
Yes.
Yes, sir.
Both options are possible. Now, these are represented as payment methods in SAP. How do you represent check payment or bank transfer? What do you call them?
Payment methods.
You
Payment
will call
methods.
them payment method, which means for every invoice, we have to mention whether payment is made in the form of check or transfer. Correct? Using payment method. Agree? Every invoice that is posted for a vendor, you have to indicate whether the payment will have to be made in the form of check or in the form of transfer. So using payment method function. Now this payment method is a single digit letter. So single digit letter. Okay, this can be alphabet, letter, or special character. Clear? So it is your
Yes, sir.
choice to create payment method as alphabet or a letter. Sorry, not alphabet. Alphabet letter is the same, right? Alphabet
Yes.
number.
Number.
Numeric.
Yes, alphabet or numeric special character. Once you have this, I will be able to segregate, or I will be able to differentiate between check payment or bank transfer. So when I say I will be able to differentiate, system will be able to differentiate. When you're talking about system, you're representing SAP. So for SAP to understand, to issue a check or to do a bank transfer, it needs payment method as mandatory input. Now there are different ways to default payment method in your vendor account, payment method in your invoice, payment method in your payment transaction. So you have different ways to default it. Even though you do not input, it will commence it automatically. So in case of bank transfer, we have to prepare a payment file and send to bank. Correct? In case of any bank transfer, you have to prepare a payment file and send to bank. Normally, in any organization, do they do payment on a daily basis or on a scheduled timeline basis?
Based
Timeline
on
basis.
project, based on requirement.
Both are
Payments are normally made on specific days. Can be twice a week or thrice a week. Okay. So emergency payments will happen on a daily basis. These are exceptional payments, but otherwise all your regular payments are made on a specific intervals. Maybe every Monday we will have a payment batch, or every Wednesday you will have a payment batch, every Friday or Thursday you will have a payment batch. It depends on the organization. So what they do, when they have a scheduled payment batch, when they have a scheduled payment run, they will ensure that today we are going to make the payments. Accordingly, they will make sure that their funds are available in the bank. Organization also will have the bank account. Organization also will have to make the funds available in their account. Agree? In order to meet their
Yes.
commitments, they have to maintain the minimum balance or sufficient funds on their account. For them to do it, they cannot left and right issue the payments on a daily basis. Am I correct? No company will do it. Right? No company will initiate the payments on a daily basis. Now, assuming our company is doing payments twice a week, assuming every Tuesday and every Friday. Now, once payments are made, we will have to make a payment file and send it to bank. Now, this payment file is nothing but payment medium. We also call it as payment medium or DME file. Ignore the terminology if you are getting confused, but simply go ahead with payment file. This payment file format is bank specific. When I say bank specific, what do I mean? When I say payment file is bank specific, what do I mean?
specific to that particular bank.
Right? So each bank may have their own format. Similarly, if you go to any bank, if you try to look at withdrawal form, if you try to look at deposit form, now not all the banks will have the same format. Agree? The format is
Yes.
slightly different.
Yes.
Though you have the same data to be filled up, account number, name, date and all, but the representation format may be different. Similarly, for every bank, there will be a format. This format bank will give us. Okay, this format bank will give us. Now, the payment file format is usually flat file dot txt or xml file dot xml. Clear?
Yes.
What will be your file format? Either flat file. When you're talking about flat file, you're talking about notepad, text file, or it is XML file. When you're talking about XML file, it is similar to your Excel sheet, but the file extension is .xls. And now in the previous statements we have discussed, when it comes to payment, there are two options. One is your accounting process and the other one is
Settlement process.
settlement process. So which one will take first, accounting process or settlement process?
Accounting process.
Accounting process will take place first. All right. Once the accounting process is completed, we have to initiate settlement process, because without accounting process it is not possible for us to initiate settlement process. You might have some 1,000 vendors, agree? Possible? In an organization there may be 1,000 vendors,
Yes.
Yes.
but today when I make the payment I may pay only to 300 vendors. Possible?
Yes.
Yes. Possible.
Out of 1,000 vendors I have initiated payment only for 300 vendors. Now these 300 vendors might have 500 invoices.
Yes, sir.
Possible? Now
Yes.
out of 500 invoices I would have paid only 150 invoices. Is this possible?
Yes, sir.
Right? So
Yes, sir.
you have to
Yes, sir.
have the detailed information when it comes to settlement. Now for that settlement process to happen, payment process is must. Right? So once accounting process is completed, we will have to initiate settlement process, in which you will prepare bank transfer file or letter, depending on the organization. Some companies will go for file, some companies will go for letters. So once I have this, now how this information will come? Let's say I have 300 vendor payments, 150 invoices, let's say 12,75,000 INR total payment. Clear?
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir.
This is my scenario. Now I have to have the clear breakup of all this. Who are those 300 vendors? What are those 150 invoices? Why 12,75,000? Is this required or not? Is
Yes.
this needed only for bank or for your internal reporting purpose also?
Internal
For both.
reporting purpose also
For both.
required.
Right? This is needed for both. Tomorrow, if you have to give a communication to the vendor that we have paid this, you need to have something to prove, right? That this is what we have paid. In short, any payment made to vendor must have supporting document. What is this payment supporting document called?
Invoice copy
No.
or banking
Payment.
details.
No.
Payment remittance. No.
Payment,
Advice.
what is it called? Payment advice.
Payment
Right? So
advice.
without payment advice, we are not supposed to send the payment information to the vendor, because if you are my vendor and you have supplied me, let's say 10 products, 10 bills in this month. Now I have given you payment for 3 bills. Should I tell you which 3 out of 10 I'm paying you, or it is okay even if I do not tell? I have 10 transactions with you and I am settling only 3 transactions. Should I mention which 3 out of 10, or it is okay even if I do not mention?
No, we need to mention.
I have to mention, because this is a payment transaction which is a sensitive item, because each invoice will have something called due date. Correct?
Yes, sir.
Each invoice will have something called due date. Before the due date, you will have to clear that, or before the due date, you will have to settle it or pay it. If I am paying the latest invoice first but keeping oldest invoice open, what I will do, I'll end up making late payments. Correct? I'm keeping oldest invoice open, and if I'm making the newest invoice first, I am not making payments on a timely basis, or my payment is not organized. Yes, no?
Yes.
So these kind of points are not supposed to happen in any organization. These are not entertained. These are not typically followed in any company. Next. Now clear? So you have to remember, along with every payment advice, is it optional or mandatory?
It's a mandatory.
Mandatory.
It is mandatory. Okay. Now, for making the payment file, we have to depend on database tables. For making payment file, we have to depend on what?
Database table.
We have to depend on database tables. From here on, it's very, very important. If you are able to do it on SAP or not is secondary. But if you are not able to talk, then you are gone. How comfortable you are on SAP doing this configuration, nobody wants to know. But when it comes to process, whether you are aware of it or not is what everybody wants to know. Which means when you're explaining the process, you have to be clear. Whatever you talk, the other person should feel that yes, this is how an organization follows. So do not straight away come to the SAP point. First come to the business process and then try to connect the business process with SAP. Okay. Now, for this, first you have to understand accounting document tables. What tables?
PKPF, BSEC.
Right. These are nothing but your BKPF, BSEG, AC DOCA, Faggle, Flexa, and we're talking about what kind of transaction vendor related. Then we'll have to talk about BSAK, BSIK. Okay, these are the tables where your vendor related transactions are stored. Clear?
What is that BKPF? That
These are accounting documents. I'll show all this once we are on SAP. I'll show all this.
okay.
But for now, I want everybody to know and remember these tables. No other option. No exemption. 0% tolerance of exemption in this. You must remember this. The way you know your name, you must know these names. No option that you will forget your name. Similarly, no option you will forget these names. Clear?
Okay.
Strictly, chances of getting rejected are very, very high if you are not able to tell these tables. No matter how accurately you are explaining the other process, if you are failing to talk about these table names, the other person will straight away get negative impression, will not get convinced so easily. Now you have payment related tables. I'm roughly updating the common tables, but we will update the actual tables if anything we are leaving when we are actually on the system. For payment related, you will have PAYR, REGUP, REGUH, BNKA, T012K. Clear? What are the other payment related tables? Can somebody read them out? Payment related tables.
PAYR, REGUP, REGUH, BNKA, T012K.
T012K, right. So these table names is what you have to remember. No other option. I have no option. You also have no option. Even I have to remember. You have to remember. These are irrespective of your level of experience. Whether you are a fresher, whether you are 2-year experienced or you are 10-year experienced, doesn't matter. When it comes to these points, you must know this. Okay. Once you have this information, so as a functional consultant, so FICO, you are a functional consultant, correct? You have to give the detailed business requirement to the technical consultant. Who is technical consultant? ABAP. Okay. Based on FICO consultant inputs, ABAPer will develop the file format. Okay. This is nothing but payment file format. Now, functional consultant will provide any requirement to the technical consultant in the form of what? You will provide the data to the technical consultant. What is that called?
Functional specification.
Functional specification. Tomorrow you will be definitely questioned. Have you worked on FS? Nobody will tell you functional specification. They might simply ask you, have you worked on FS? Immediately it should strike your mind that they are talking about functional specification. If they are talking about a functional specification, they are asking if you have worked with technical consultant ABAP. Clear? You have to understand the question in detail in the other way around. I'll be simply asking you, have you worked on any FS? If your answer is yes, then I would definitely ask you on what you have worked on FS. What was the requirement? What did you do? Then you'll have to explain what was the requirement. Whether you will explain this payment bank file or any other report, any other logic, it is your choice. But the way you are explaining should be convincing enough. When I say convincing enough, take a valid business case, valid business requirement, and explain in a way which exactly happens in a project. Clearer? If you're in a project, whatever you do, explain the same points. You need not focus about your grammar. You need not focus about your SAP terminology and all. Explain in a generic way as if you're casually talking, not like you are trying to put this in a proper format, this and all. That will create more confusions. Instead, talk in a generic way as if you're talking casually to me. Clearer? So that will happen only when you are clear with the process flow. If you are not clear with the process flow, you cannot bring that casual conversation. Agree with me? Right? First, you have to start gaining that business process flow. Once you are clear with it, SAP is nothing. You can easily connect everything with SAP. You can easily communicate and convince anyone. Any doubt so far?
No, sir.
Clearer? Hope
So I have
nobody is
one
getting
doubt.
confused. Yes.
Yeah, sorry. Yeah. So actually, SAP has got its standard formats, everything. No. So then again, why this functional specification? I mean, under what circumstances we use this functional specification?
Yeah. Okay. So none of the SAP standard functionality is ready to be used because we have to customize the standard functionality by doing config or programming. Let's say in SAP you can directly book an invoice, correct?
Yes, sir.
Yes.
But can I directly go and book an invoice unless I do the relevant configuration?
No, we need to configure.
Right? We need to configure. This configuration is based on my requirement. Let's say I need to create account groups, but I'm not okay with whatever the account group there in SAP. I want to have a number range. But here, to some extent, you have to interfere and then amend according to your business need requirement.
Yes, but we'll do this with the ABAP helper, or can independently we will handle this? Huh?
So wherever we are talking about functional specification, these points are points which are handled by ABAP, technical, because these points will require programming, in short, coding. So this ABAP is a language which is used by SAP. Like we have C, .NET and all, right? Similarly, SAP is based on ABAP language, ABAP coding. If you look at anything, let's say if I open FBL1N, okay, I'll open a vendor report. Now this is my report. In the backend, I'm able to get the output.
Yeah.
Right?
Yes.
Now this is a standard report. This is my standard report wherein I am passing some input. Now this report is on the front side, will have a programming on the back side, which means front end, back end. Now this front end reporting is what used by the functional consultant and business users. But for you to get this report, you will have a program in the background. For you to see that program on this screen, if you go to system, okay, you will find something called status. Click on status. If you click on status, you will find something called transaction code, report. You will find something called program. If you double click on this program, it will display the code behind this report. Okay, this is how the code is written in SAP, and all this code is written by the ABAP consultant. For any report, for any output, for any form, we have to develop or we have to bring, which will have some logic. Agree? So all
Yes,
these
sir. Yes.
logics will have to be given to the technical person by the functional person, which means if you're talking about developing a report, okay, I wanted to have a new report, or I have this report, but I'm not okay with this. I wanted to have additional functionality on this report. What I want is I will tell that no, we are not okay, or I'm not convinced with this. I wanted to have a simple report. I will just put the vendor account, company code. I don't want all this. By default, I want open item. I don't want my user to see this date and all. I want system to take all this, remove all this, take everything by default, hide everything, give a simple report. I want to see only this heading and this execute button, only these two options. Now we cannot hide on this screen. Even if you have if you have to hide this on the screen, there should be a logic, correct? On what basis we have to hide? And if I give this, from where I have to get the data? I'm giving this, system is giving the output, correct? How system is getting this output? From where? From the database
Yes.
tables in backend, background,
Database. Yeah. Yes.
right? So how system know that if there is no vendor account, ideally it should give an error, right? You did not give any vendor. Agree? Correct? I'm not giving any
Yes.
vendor, but I'm executing, but I'm getting output. Is this correct or wrong? So the requirement may be that if I do not put any vendor, I want all the vendors. But there might be one more requirement. If I do not put any vendor, do not give any output. Give the output for whatever is given in input. If I pass one vendor, give me one vendor output. If I pass two vendors, give me two vendor output. Now, for all these things to happen, there has to be a logic, there has to be a programming. Correct? Standard SAP is like plain version. Now, your client may be happy with standard functionality, your client may not be happy with standard functionality. Majority of the cases, you will have to do minor fine tuning of standard functionalities. You will take standard functionality as the base and you will fine tune it according to your client requirement. Clear? And to do any fine tuning as a functional, we cannot fine tune it. If there is something which we can fine tune from functional side, that is called as configuration. What is it called from functional side?
Configuration.
Configuration.
Configuration. But not everything is a configuration, right? Let's say when I'm giving an invoice to my vendor, now not vendor, now we're talking about payment advice. If I have to give a payment to a vendor, I have to give him a supporting document called payment advice. Now this payment advice is something that I have to print from the system, correct? To a vendor, whatever the payments are made, I want to get a letter stating this is the check number or this is the bank transfer number, and these are the invoices we are paying, these are the deductions, this is the discount we have utilized, and this is the total amount. For this to happen, your payment advice must have a format. It should have your company name, company logo, contact number, all this. Yes, no? It has to be in a specific format. In short, this is kind of a letterhead.
Yes, sir.
Right? Every form that you print in an organization is kind of a letterhead, which means it has to be a pre-designed format It has to be a pre-designed format which you are using in your organization for a while. Same form, whatever you are generating out of SAP will have to be generated from SAP. For this form to come from SAP, or for any report to come from SAP directly, you have to develop it. What you have to do? You have
Develop.
to
You have
develop. And wherever you are talking about development, this development is a technical part. Okay, development is part of technical. Now there is something called RISEF. What is this?
rise up.
Something called RISEF. This is again very important. People will ask you in your interviews, have you worked on RISEF objects? Okay, I'll say this as technical objects. Technical objects are nothing but your RISEF. Now, every letter will have some full form. W stands for what?
Workflow.
W is workflow. R,
Reports.
Reports.
I,
Interface.
interfaces.
Conversion.
C, conversion.
Enhancement.
E, enhancement.
Forms.
F, forms. This RISEF term and RISEF full form is mandatory. Again, no exception for this. You have to remember, whether you like it or you do not like it, no other option for anybody, irrespective of the experience. As a fresher, as an experienced, you must know this. You need not work on this. You need not know examples of it, but at least you should know the process flow of it, what exactly it is. At least one liner, meaning definition enough. Tell at least the definition of RISEF. Do not tell no, I'm not aware. We're talking about workflow. Know what is workflow. What is workflow? Workflow is all about your approvals. Correct?
Yes, sir.
Workflow is nothing but approval. Let's say I'm creating a purchase order. I want my purchase order to be approved by 2-3 people. Now this purchase order approval will have to be designed with workflow. Similarly, I am creating a sales order. My sales order will have to be approved by 2-3 people. Again approval. Again workflow. Let's say you're talking about parking of a document, posting of a document, maker checker. If somebody is parking, the other person should get a notification. Again a workflow. Reports. I want stock aging report. I want vendor aging report. I want customer aging report. I want my bank balance report or any report. There are certain reports which are used in an organization on a daily basis. These daily used reports may not be available in SAP according to client requirement. When I say report may not be available according to client requirement, which means report is there in SAP, but this is not meeting your client requirement. When I say it is not meeting client requirement, your client requirement may meet up to 70%, 80%, 90%. But your client is satisfied only when it reaches 100% or partially. Let's say there is a report. In standard, there is one transaction code, one report is already coming, but only half data or 70% of what I need is coming. 30% I have to do a manual work. So when will I be convinced? When will I be happy? Only when that remaining 30% also coming from system. Correct?
Yeah. Yes.
Yes,
Right?
sir.
So that remaining 30% is also I have to enable in that report. For that, what I have to do, I have to design a new report. I'm not going to design a report from the scratch. I will take the existing report where 70% of my requirement is already there. In that report, I am going to add 30% functionality. What 30% functionality you have to add, on what basis we have to add it, is what you will discuss with the client, and you will finalize the logic for any report, for any development, for any customization. In short, any of this rise of object is dependent on all the rise of objects are dependent on business requirements and are communicated with technical team in the form of FS. Clearer? If you are asking a technical person, in short an ABAP person, to create a new report, he will not understand what to do. To talk about go to this financial accounting, this T code, put this, do this, he will tell what are you talking. He will not understand because he is not a functional person. He is a technical person. Similarly, if technical person is talking about this table, this and all, you will not understand. For both of us to have a common understanding, we will have a document called functional specification, wherein you will give the detailed business requirement along with the test cases. Okay, FS will have the detailed business requirement, logics, test cases. Okay, who will prepare this FS?
Technical person.
Functional consultant.
Functional consultant, which means we have to prepare this FS.
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir.
Let's say, for an example, let's take a simple example. Client wants to see all the bank account masters in single screen. Let's say your client wants to see all the bank masters in a single screen. Now, assuming there is no report, there is no such report in standard SAP. Clear?
Okay.
Assuming there is no such report in standard SAP. So when you get the requirement from your client, you are not supposed to tell upfront, no, this is not possible. Right? You're not supposed to tell upfront, this is not possible. What you have to do is first understand the requirement. First, you have to understand the requirement. Okay, he wants to see all the bank masters in a single screen. Why? When he say all the bank masters, what exactly he want to see? I do not know what you want to see unless you tell me. Am I correct? Want to see something on the report, but what do you want to see? Now, you have to explain me what you want on the screen. Yes, no?
Yes.
Because this is your requirement. This is not something I am giving you as a gift. So if it is your requirement, you have to be very clear, you have to be very specific and valid. So first, what I'll do, I want the detailed requirement from you. So I need to have that basic understanding on this business process to put some questions. Otherwise, if I'm not clear, what will I ask? I will not ask anything. I will tell, okay, send me the format, I will do it. The way, if you talk like this with any of your client, any person will easily understand that you are a fresher person, you are a trained person, you do not know how you have to communicate with your client. Clear? The way you initiate your discussion with your client should be different. The other person should not get any doubt anywhere, no matter what. Now you have to get the requirement. If it is all about bank master, ask him what information you want to see, what fields you want to see. Can you give me one example, one sample data? In which format do you want? First, take the output. First, to see, let's say he wants bank name, account name, let's say GL, currency, available balance in that account. If he's asking, let's say, relationship manager, bank contact number, something like this he's asking. Now you can do it, but what you can do, all this is what, report or not?
Yes, report.
This is a report, correct? Now report is nothing but output, something that you want to see on the screen, am I correct?
Yes, sir.
Yes.
Report is something which I want to see on my screen. Now I can see which is available, I cannot see which is not available, am I correct? I can see on the report whatever is available in the system, yes, no?
Yes, sir.
Right, if there is no information in system, can I get that on the output? I cannot get it, but your client is asking for it. Then you need logic for it. You need to ask, let's say, are you maintaining your bank available balance anywhere? No. How is it possible? It is not possible. Every minute there might be some transaction happening which you are not aware of, correct? How will I know what is the balance now? After 1 hour balance may get changed, yes, no?
Yes, sir.
So there are certain fields, there are certain information which may not be feasible at all. So you have to be in a position to identify what information is possible, what is not possible. Something sounds tricky, then you have to ask on what basis you will get this. Let's say relationship manager. Are you maintaining the relationship manager information anywhere in the system currently? If he says no, then if there is no relationship manager name in the system, how will it come on your output? Possible or not possible? Not possible, correct? If I'm maintaining while creating the bank, for this bank, he is the or she is the relationship manager, I can bring that name. If I'm not maintaining while creating the bank, can I bring that name? No, right? Correct? Now, when you get such kind of points, then you will have to get the requirement properly. You will have to bring the logic. On what basis I will do it? How will I know that for which bank who is the relationship manager? Are we, if it is the requirement which your client is insisting for, he wants to have this report for different purposes. He will tell, no, this is the report which is needed for management or this is needed for CFO. Then no other option, you have to create a such report, but whatever the data is missing in the system, but you have to show it on the system, you have to do a workaround. Either you will have to create a custom tables. You'll have to create some custom tables, maintain the data there. This is the bank, this is the name. You update it there. On the report, we will pick it from there. So you will have to connect different points. Think from business point of view, try to understand, okay, if this is the requirement, this is how we will do it. Tomorrow, if somebody is asking you to explain about different requirements you have worked upon, so you can take these kind of reports, but make sure you are in a position to convince, communicate. Whether you're right or wrong is immaterial, but the way you are communicating confidently matters a lot. Okay.
Yeah. Sir, this functionality we use mostly for reports only, like
Which
functional specific document.
no, not for report, for all this, for all the rise of elements.
Right, surface. Right, right. Okay. Thank you.
Okay, for all the rise of elements, because all these rise of elements are ABAP area. Which area? ABAP.
ABAP area.
Okay. We have to give detailed requirement in FS.
Yes, sir. Clear.
Okay. You'll have to give detailed requirement in FS. FS is again a Word document. FS is a Word or PDF document. PDF is not possible without Word, so I'll simply put Word document. Okay.
Right.
It's a
Okay,
Word
sir.
document. I will share these standard formats later on. Okay. As of now, you can remember, read through these points more than enough. So you will be able to communicate with anybody confidently, without any doubt, without any confusion. Clear?
Yes, sir. Clear. Thank you.
Any other doubts, anyone? All right, let me stop this recording.